Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Lena. Welcome back to another video. So this is a little bit different. I did a thing. I've been really interested lately on Warhammer 40k. Why is this? Obviously because Henry Cavill is going to do a film about it. Honesty is here. But the thing is, Warhammer 40k is something that has always been around. Like, I've always been conscious about it, but I never got like the pull to actually understand what it's about. Because the thing is, I'm into a lot of nerdy things, but I'm not really into miniatures and such. And the most like the bigger market for here for this is just like painting the miniatures, and there's a lot of lore behind it, which is super cool, but it's just not. I'm not an art person. That's it, I'm not an art person. But since I discovered that there are books about it, a lot of them, there's so many books about this. The main story is just like 100 books long, 100 and something, but there's more than 1,000 books in this universe. Am I going to read them all? Absolutely not. But the thing is, I've been trying to get into this, and a lot of people have different opinions on where you should start. A lot of people say the Horus Heresy. There's also the Inquisitor, another place where you can start. But I decided to do things in the wrong order. And I discovered that there's something that is not Warhammer 40k. That is Warhammer Horror. And I was just like, let's fucking go, basically. So a lot of these are standalone stories, horror standalone stories, set in this universe. And in this universe, you have like the more fantasy aspect, and then the 40k, which is in the future, with religion being a huge part of this, basically with the Inquisition. And then, you know, your more like usual fantasy with monsters and such. I was so ready. I was so ready for this, so I decided to read them. But there are just like 40 something books. So I decided to start with the full-length novels. I do have a little novella because it's something amazing. But I decided to start with full-length novels, especially because this year a new trilogy came out. I had no idea that it was a trilogy when I first started, basically. But it all started with Gothgul Hollow, basically. I'm pretty sure you've seen this book around because the author, Anne Stephens, is a very well-known grimdark author. I've read some of her books previously, wasn't a huge fan of them, although I'm thinking of trying her other series. This acted basically as book one in the Tales of Mhurghast series. And when I first started, I had no idea because I just started this as a standalone project, being just like, this book sounds great, I want to read it. It gave me so many like Van Helsing vibes, basically, because you start following this young noble lady called Itria. She and her father have been attacked by this monster, and now they have the help of a hunter to figure out what the hell is going on, basically. It feels very gothic because it takes place on the castle of the family, and you have necromancy magic, which is fucking great. Overall, I really like Gothgul Hollow, but still, I was a little bit underwhelmed because I feel like a lot of people like the ending, but for me, it just wasn't like the greatest plot twist. I liked the way more than the ending. So I was just like, you know what? This atmosphere is just everything. I want something dark. I want something that feels dark when you're reading it. And for that, I decided to continue, and I ended up reading 5 more books. So let's just continue talking about the Tales of Mhurghast, and then we'll talk about the standalones. So the next book after Gothgul Hollow is Briardark. And Briardark is now my favorite books of all that I've read. It's very curious because I feel like this is the more character-driven one of them all. But basically, we want to call these two siblings. They get into Briardark, which is a very dark forest in this small town, and they are attacked by a wolf. And the thing is, this old lady comes in and she's just like, oh no, your brother has no salvation, but maybe I can help you and you can go back. She says yes. She says yes, and you know, she makes her way back to the village. Basically, she gets people there to just get the body of her brother back, and after that she realizes that she's starting to just like fade away. Basically, she's turning not invisible, but her she's losing all the shine in her hair. She's turning translucent in the skin, and she has this compulsion to sew these tapes, and she starts making pictures of people, and these people start dying. Basically, she has like a death note basically, but it's a tapes, and every time that she draws an image there, that person dies and she gets to live a little longer. The thing is, we know this from the beginning, and we follow her mostly as she's trying to hide this from her father, who is a hunter in this village and who gets the help of his brother too, basically, who is like more well-known hunter that is related to book 1. So you're basically following them, and they're just like, oh my god, this curse in your family, what is going on? And then she's just like, oh my god, I just don't want to die, but these people have to die. Oh well, what can I do? And I find this so cool. I feel like a lot of people didn't like this one as much as the other ones, but for me, it worked so well. I was just looking forward to listen to it because I listen most of these as audiobooks, and it was just great. It was just great. My favorite of the ones that I've read, maybe except for a novella. I'll talk about it later, but I just really like it. There's also like mentions of Gothgul Hollow, basically, and a character travels to there. So they are all connected. You do not have to read them in order. You may enjoy this one separately, there's no problem, but I would definitely say that the third one, you need to read as the third one and not start from there. And I'm glad that I did it, but I did it accidentally. Honestly, I read the Gothgul Hollow and Briardark just right one after another, and I was like, oh, they're mentioning Gothgul Hollow. That's so cool. And then I was reading the last one, which is Black-Eyed Saint. And in Goodreads, it's not tagged, it just says Warhammer Horror. But when you start the summary, it says, the third book in the Tales of Mhurghast. And I was just like, fuck. But I, thank God, read them in order. And in this one, you follow the characters from book 1, basically. But they find this girl running away in the middle of the forest from a man who is hunting her. And the last thing that the man says is Mhurghast, basically. So they get the girl back to Gothgul Hollow, and once there, she tells them the story that basically in her village, there's this really weird plague going around that turns people crazy. And they go there and investigate. And I feel like out of the 3, this one has the strongest plot. Definitely so cool. So cool. I just really liked it, but it's not my favorite. I don't know, book 2 just worked for me so well, but this one has the atmosphere like at first, but then turns more into a fantasy, then continuing the horror. The first 2 are definitely just horror. Like, you get fantasy elements, but they are horror. Especially book 1 is gothic horror, and book 2 is definitely more of a really dark fantasy horror atmosphere. This one starts as that, but it turns into a more classic fantasy, with you have just like your enemy there and you're trying to do everything against them. But I don't know, it still works. The plot is definitely the strongest one here, because we have a lot of twists, we have a lot of investigating what is going on. So for that alone, I really liked it. Is there going to be more books in this series? I don't know. I need to check them separately to see if it's a fourth book in the Mhurghast tales. Maybe. But for now, I think we only have these 3. I'll check it while I'm editing this video, honestly, because the Goodreads list is just so annoying. Because as I've told you, it's not numbered. It's not separated as a separate series. It's just like a bunch of novels tagged as Warhammer Horror that are thrown in there. Some of them are just like really short novellas, like 60, 70 pages. They're mostly audiobooks, because Warhammer has decided to stop like more of the printing aspect of the books and just releasing them on audio or on Kindle basically, which is nice since paying for a 60 pages book is extremely expensive and unnecessary. So it's fun for them. But yeah, this first trilogy, I was just like, okay, this is solid. I want to know more. The lore is super cool. The ambience is great. The atmosphere is on another level. I need more. So I decided to continue. For an entire week, I only read Warhammer books and it was a happy week. It was a really happy week. After this, I ended up reading Castle of Blood because it sounded the best out of all of the ones that I had. It's basically a murder mystery where people are just trapped in a castle. And it sounded amazing. I thought that it was going to be my favorite for real because basically it is very similar to Agatha Christie. This man invites all these people to his castle basically, and he's just like, you know what? You're all related to the death of my fucking son, and now I've conjured this demon here and it's going to kill you all. He kills himself and then the hunt begins. It's just so cool because the thing is, the monster only possesses like the daughters and sons of these people, so they are the ones killing them. Revenge is amazing. It's really cool. It's really like, oh my god, we need to hide in this castle. It reminded me a little bit of Ready or Not, the film where everyone is going after the bride. It was amazing. I had a blast with this one, but it definitely was too short. And I felt like I didn't know the characters well enough to actually care. In a way, I was just like, you know what? Kill them all. Kill them all. And the thing is, these books actually have like so bittersweet endings. I don't feel like there's one book, probably Black High Saint, has the best ending, the more happy ending. But most of these are just filled with death and sadness. Like, it's just like this type of plot twist just in the end where you're just like, fuck, this is actually so sad. And this one had one of those, which I really enjoy personally. I feel like this one was sad in the sense that the plot twist was just like, oh, damn it. But then I was just like, fuck you, bitch. So I really enjoyed it. But yeah, Castle of Blood is definitely up there. I give it like 3.5 stars. It's really short. I wish it was longer. If this one was longer and it had like a connection with the character, it would probably be my favorite one because it's just super cool. I'm going to leave my favorite one for last. So let's just talk about Dark Harvest. This is again one that is mostly plot driven. And this one reminded me a lot of like side missions of The Witcher. If you play The Witcher 3, there's a side mission where you go, well, it's related to the main quest basically. But you go into this town and the three Moiras control this little town and they sacrifice children basically. It's not the same here, but the atmosphere of that mission with the monster under the tree, you know, reminded me a lot of this. I was just getting the same feeling. In this one, you're basically going to follow a hunter and he's very lonely. He's trying to just get out of this. It's just the only thing that he has basically. But he gets summoned into this village and was it the counselor? I don't know. He was just like, you know what? Something weird is going on. This man tried to kill me. You know him. Kill him for me. And the other one's just like, yeah, but he was my friend. He did something there to me. She said, so you know what? I'm taking this and I'm going after him. And there's a lot of back and forth. In this one, you know, you feel like the book is getting to an end, but then you have a cool plot twist. And this one, I feel like we have the most like gods and creatures here. And definitely the horror atmosphere is the best in this one. Every single sentence in here is just like, oh my god, this is so dark. Everything here is dark. There's not a moment of happiness in this book. So I really, really liked it. I feel like it's my favorite atmosphere of them all. It's just super cool. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Probably the most solid book out of all of them. Even though it's not my favorite, I feel like it's just as a standalone book, it works great. So maybe if you're thinking of starting it, instead of starting with Gothgul Hollow, maybe just start with Dark Harvest. I feel like it works great. If it has some nudges to other books, I didn't get them because, you know, it was one of the first books that I actually read, and I didn't read them in this order. I just really enjoyed it. I think it's a great place to start, honestly. But yeah. And the next one, which is the last one that I read, well, the last one that I read was Black Eyes, but the last one that I read was The Watcher in the Rain, which is a proper Warhammer 40k story, because this is actually set in the future and with the whole marine stuff. And it's set on a city that is being just basically is sinking. The rain doesn't stop, so they're evacuating it. In this city, there's a problem. There's a very weird thing going on. They don't know if it's a creature, they don't know what it is, but there's something lurking in the rain, basically, and you feel it watching you. And it's just so cool because you have to pretend that it is not there so it doesn't get to you. It was so cool, man. This is a graphic audio, so it has like rain sounds and such. It's amazing. You follow basically this girl who is trying to flee the city, and she is guilty of accidentally killing a platoon of Marines. So she's actually being hunted down by the Inquisitors, and an Inquisitor is going after her, and they both get stranded in this city, and they are trying to get out, and they have to work together. It was so cool. The ending was great. It has a double plot twist, which is amazing. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. This one was the shortest one, but it was the most impactful one. The story was great. Wish it was longer. It's one of the best sci-fi horrors that I read in such a long time. And it's insane, taking into account that it's just a Warhammer standalone novel. It's just... novel, not even a novel, a novella. Like, I don't think it's even like 150 pages. And it's still one of the best sci-fi horrors that I've read in a long time, not counting rereads. How is this possible? I have no fucking clue, but it definitely is. It's just great. I'm not going to spoil anything else, but this was fantastic and I cannot recommend it enough. If you have an Audible account, just get this. It's just so cool. So yeah, this has been my experience with Warhammer horror. I'm going to continue. I'm into it. But the thing is, I think I'm going to make a stop with horror and I'm going to start with the Horus Heresy. I've heard that it's just as good as starting on another place. But the thing is, I don't know why, but I feel like this is one of the few series that I can actually just start and continue reading. Even though it has 50-something books in it, I feel like apparently the first two or the first three are the ones that are the most important. So you get like a good look at the lore and you can establish it and then go to other series. So my next step is going to be reading the Horus Heresy. And you will be going with me on that journey because I'm planning on doing like a full series on just Warhammer. It's just so interesting. I've been loving the atmosphere. It's just everything. The world building looks amazing, so I cannot wait to actually continue. But yeah, have you read Warhammer? Please just let me know. I've been really trying to get someone else to talk about this with because no one in my circle is just mad enough to start reading this. But man, it was so cool. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that you read Warhammer Horror. It's been such a joy, such a pleasure to read, and I think it's a great place to just get your little tippy toes into Warhammer. It's been fantastic. The Watcher in the Rain, man. The Watcher in the Rain was amazing. But yeah, if you haven't read any of these books, if you're planning to, just let me know in the comments below. And as always, oh wait, and if you have read it, please let me know where you start. Where did you start reading Warhammer? I might copy you. But yeah, as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye.